Hello and welcome. In this video, we're exploring the Union perspective on Pickett's charge through the official report of General Winfield Scott Hancock. He remains my preferred Union commander, largely due to his conduct at Gettysburg and later throughout the Overland Campaign, a topic I plan to address in a future presentation. First, be sure to like and subscribe to WinLink Deep Dive to support our investigative community. The Corps had been so depleted by its casualties from the previous day that on the 3rd it demanded every man possible in the battle line to hold the same ground occupied earlier. The brigade of Colonel Carroll from General Hayes's division was kept back by General Howard, and with the exception of the 8th Ohio, did not see action with the 2nd Corps that day. The first part of the morning was relatively quiet on our front, but the intense and sustained firing from the right signaled that the enemy's efforts were concentrated against the 12th Corps. Minor skirmishes happened occasionally between our pickets and the enemy's, and the Corps' artillery often engaged the opposing guns with success. From 11 in the morning until 1 in the afternoon, an ominous calm prevailed. At approximately 1 o'clock, as if by a prearranged signal, the enemy commenced the most severe artillery barrage I have ever witnessed. Their guns were situated at an average range of around 1,400 yards from our position, arranged in a crescent from the town of Gettysburg to a spot opposite Round Top Mountain. Estimates of their number range from 115 to 150 pieces. The sky was thick with shells, with barely a moment passing without several exploding simultaneously. The uneven terrain provided little shelter. The open field behind our lines was quickly cleared of anything that could be moved. The foot soldiers held their ground with remarkable resolve, seeking what cover they could find behind the minor, temporary works they had built and the natural variations in the landscape. Almost no one fled. Instead, all awaited the conclusion of the fierce bombardment. Understanding full well what it portended, the Corps' artillery, which was poorly stocked with shot and shell, answered the enemy with immense courage, sustaining a one-sided fight in a way that brings the greatest credit to this branch of the service. Brown's Battery, Battery B, 1st Rhode Island, which had been badly hurt the day before and exhausted its canister, withdrew before the cannonade ended, being no longer fit for duty. The other batteries kept up their fire until only canister shot remained to them, and then fell silent. After 1 hour and 45 minutes, the enemy's fire grew less intense, and promptly their infantry was observed in the woods on the far side of the Emmitsburg Road, readying for the attack. A dense line of skirmishers advanced quickly, followed by 2 extended lines of battle, strengthened in places by compact infantry columns. Their formations were executed with an exactness and steadiness that compelled the admiration of all who witnessed that historic event. The enemy's left stretched just beyond the right of General Alexander Hayes's division, while their right was positioned roughly opposite the left of General Gibbon's. Their battle line therefore covered a front of no more than 2 of our Corps' undersized and depleted divisions. The total assault force is judged to have been over 15,000 men. No effort was made to hinder the enemy's approach until their first line had closed to about 700 yards from our position, at which point a weak artillery fire was directed at them. This had little tangible result, and without pausing in its resolute advance for even a moment, the column pushed forward into musketry range without immediately drawing our fire, our soldiers showing a notable tendency to hold their volley until it could be delivered with maximum effect. 2 regiments from Standard's Vermont Brigade of the 1st Corps, which had been stationed in a small copse of trees well in front of and at a sharp angle to the main line, were the first to unleash an oblique fire upon the enemy's right flank, which forced those troops to crowd inward slightly toward their left. They continued on, nevertheless, without stopping to return the fire. Our rifled artillery pieces, having expended all their canister, were now pulled back or remained on the field inactive to await the outcome of the impending infantry clash. Having reached a distance of between 200 and 300 yards, the enemy troops were greeted by a devastating fire from the divisions of Gibbon and Hayes, which they immediately answered, and the combat instantly became intense and widespread. In front of Hayes's division, it did not last very long. Cut down by canister from Woodruff's battery and by the fire from 2 regiments cleverly positioned by General Hayes on his far right front and by the fire of successive lines to their rear, the enemy broke apart in great confusion, surrendering 15 battle flags and almost 2,000 captured men to this division. Those enemy soldiers who did not fall into disarray in front of the 3rd Division shifted to their right and strengthened the line assaulting Gibbon's division. 2 regiments of the brigade, the 69th and 71st Pennsylvania, were positioned behind a low stone wall and a minor breastwork they had hastily built, with the rest of the brigade situated behind the crest roughly 60 paces to the rear and arranged so as to fire over the heads of the men in front. When the enemy's line, led by General Armistead, had nearly reached the stone wall, a majority of that portion of Webb's brigade stationed there left their post, though luckily they did not retreat completely. Through the personal courage of General Webb and his officers, they were quickly reformed behind the crest mentioned before, which was held by what remained of the brigade. Encouraged by this sign of vulnerability, the enemy pressed forward more aggressively, with many of their men crossing the breastwork our troops had left. The fighting here became exceptionally brutal and lethal, and the enemy's flags were soon seen flying on the stone wall. At this juncture, Colonel Devereaux, commanding the 19th Massachusetts Volunteers, eager to be where the fight was thickest, requested my permission to move his regiment to the right and to the front, where our line had been pierced. I approved, and his regiment, along with the 42nd New York Volunteers on his right, advanced there immediately. However, the enemy having withdrawn from Colonel Hall's front, as previously described, this officer swiftly moved his command by the right flank to provide further support to General Webb's position, and was at once followed by Harrow's brigade. This maneuver was carried out, though not without disorder, as many men left their formations to fire at the enemy from the breastwork. The circumstance was now most unusual. The troops from all the brigades had, to some degree, lost their regimental structure, but as individuals, they remained steadfast. The eagerness of individual commanders to quickly secure the point breached by the enemy, the fog of war, and the ferocity of the close quarters, combat caused this disorganization. Nevertheless, the critical point was now secured. Had our line been in its proper order, it would have stood 4 ranks deep. The flags of the various regiments were now pushed forward, waving in challenge to the long row of enemy battle flags. The men pressed on firmly behind them, guided by the vigorous commands and personal example of their officers, and after several minutes of vicious fighting, the enemy soldiers were driven back, surrendered their weapons, and sought refuge in retreat, or by lying down to avoid our fire. The enemy's colors were in our possession, and the field was ours. Thank you all for watching. Hancock's report is incredibly thorough, and his writing style clearly reflects his extensive career in the military. If you enjoyed this historical account, please subscribe to WinLink Deep Dive for more deep dives into pivotal moments of the Civil War.